engineered stone that you could burn or you could grind dry and not fear death. $65 million. I'm going to invest in that property, the project, and the company. Create these jobs and hopefully turn our materials into the project or into the property, because I'm selling veneer stone and my biggest source of business is by word of mouth or visually. We make this stuff here, and here's our building. Don't you think it's going to be the best building on the block? Except for the Ford place, because he already told me this was
But
better.
if it comes to a point, your home is the biggest investment you'll ever make.
Absolutely.
For most Joes, regular Joes, not millionaires. So that has to be our concern. If there
Well,
comes a time when we need to sell our home, how will people react to trucks coming in and out around the back of our building, concrete, whatever it's called?
you know, they're going to be my trucks and they're going to be somebody else's trucks.
I'll make you this guarantee right now. When the time comes to sell your home, if you have an appraisal on your home right now, with the building sitting the way it is right now, when you go to sell your home, if it's not worth more money than what it is now, I'll buy the home and pay the difference.
You're on tape.
Mike, do you have a question, Mike Carroll?
No, that's good. That's a good offer.
When we
All right.
build-
We're building this building.
I've developed numerous centers. I hear the same complaints. What's going to decrease the value of the home? It doesn't decrease the value. Because what happens is it brings more traffic. It develops the community. Where communities erode is when you have empty buildings, when you have people afraid of progress, of change. So what happens is nobody's there. It turns into a ghost town. Okay? We're trying to revitalize the economy, the area, the region. It's one of the biggest problems we have in New York State. Up until recently, we are so far down the list of other states in terms of progressive development that finally, I think the bell went off in Albany and they said, Houston, we have a problem here. We're number 49. They're going every place but New York. What can we do to keep them here?
Okay, Mike Carroll, question.
Not so much a question, just a point, in that I've been across the street in the pottery shop for 25 years. That building has been empty and vacant for at least 15 years. And the changes that I've seen that Marty's made at Whitehorse, with Yates Block across the street, all that stuff is positive. All that stuff makes my property more worthwhile in the long run. So a development of this sort, it's a positive thing. Drive around that building, I don't know if you can get back there now with the gates and stuff up, but drive around that building, and exactly as he says, tell me that makes your property any more worthwhile each year that that building is empty. And I'm just guessing out loud here, but I think it's been 15 years. And that building's gonna fall down, and then what are we gonna have as far as property values around that?
You know, I said earlier that we're in discussion with Brett from Travasia that we are interested in forming a partnership on this engineered stone. They are interested because they license everybody now. They are the leading manufacturer of the machines. And if you have a moment, please look through some of their brochures that are here. They're the world's leading manufacturer for the machines that make engineered stone and engineered products from natural materials. But again, their machines are using and utilizing a process that involves petroleum resin-based binders. And they are so interested that they came here to the U.S. to see what we're doing, and they took our material back and made this and said, we want in, we want to develop this with you, we want to talk about how we can do this. Initially, the discussion was, you guys take Europe, we take the U.S. and North America because that's where we are, and we set up a worldwide shop where we can teach people. So your question, what would I do at the other end? Well, if my dream comes true and I'm making this stuff, we're going to put a technical center in there so that we can teach people in this country how to interface with people in Italy and take our machines and sell them worldwide. So we would have a technical center, and that technical center, we're now negotiating with Clarkson University the opportunity to set up a prototype lab. So we would be bringing Clarkson here to the upstate area to set up in our facility to help us develop the lab and the technical center. That's what I would ultimately like to do with it. Now, in the meantime, I have to, trust Terry and my business associates who do this, because I'm a mechanical mind. And I apologize, when you asked me what was I gonna do at the other end, and I said, I don't know, it's like, well, I don't know. I never thought of that, because I'm thinking about Agramac and how I'm gonna make stuff safely into new stuff. And that's why I've entrusted that opportunity or those tasks to the people that know, what to do with the property and how to do it. And I think we've attached ourselves to some very, very, very well qualified individuals in the form of Terry and Jim, and Joe, and with the extended association, if it comes to pass, we get approval with Bob Morgan of Morgan Management. I couldn't come with a project, I don't think, could come with any more highly qualified credentials than their credentials alone.
Yes, sir.
One question. Now, in the presentation, you said 45 to 60 immediate jobs. However, at the planning board meeting on November 4th, you said 12 jobs. And we're confused as to how many jobs will
They asked me
immediately
how
be
many jobs
created.
I was going to retain, and that's 12, and those are the existing 12 people that are employed by MCM Natural Stone. I
Okay.
believe that's what the question was.
No, according to the record, I have it on my recorder. That's what they asked you.
Well, that may have been misunderstood, but we're keeping 12 jobs, which is MCM Natural Stone, and we can have, or we could create up to 45 jobs in the first initial phases of what we're doing, what we hope to do with Avon.
Now, you also said, you talked about future plans of expansion. Today, you hinted at that. You also mentioned it at the last planning board meeting we attended. Say 20 years from now, what is your intent? Where do you see this company going if you intend to expand it exactly? Because if you intend to expand, like you indicated, you would need more land.
Why do I need more land?
If you want to expand, because the site's
Why would
only
I need
15
to
acres.
have
The site is only 15 acres, and if you need to get, say you need more land for outside storage of
Do
materials,
you understand what Agramac is?
please explain it to me.
It's a process.
Uh-huh.
It's a process, it's a machine. It can be picked up and built anywhere. Where do I see if I'm still alive, the company 20 years from now?
Yes.
I see the company 20 years from now as a broker kind of scenario for a licensing of environmentally friendly processes and products that could be taken to regional markets for the development of those regional markets to retain and maintain the LEED accreditation that comes with the initial site here in upstate New York. We have a manufacturing radius for certification of our LEED certification rather, of 500 miles. So we can produce and offer LEED accreditation in that 500 miles. My vision is to take that LEED accreditation and that process in Agramac, our patents and processes, and license them to qualified regional markets. That's where I see us 20 years from now.
Now, another
I don't
question.
want more land or more buildings or more employees. I want what works for the licensing of the process so that we can distribute that process through licensing throughout the world.
But
Hold
if,
on, hold on.
Okay.
You said one question, you're on three now.
okay.
Lynn, you had a question?
Yes, I wanted to know, as far as the employees go, is it a common practice to do background checks on them?
Oh, yeah.
That's part of your policy.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
And then another question is the sound.
I want you to know that I've hired individuals who have had brushes with the law in many scenarios. I also want you to know that I'm fully in agreement with the reform, prison reform and the rehabilitation of individuals who may have gone astray from the law. As a Monroe County Sheriff's Deputy, I was very honored to serve on the Work Release Committee, Pretrial Release Committee, and the FACT committees that were part of the process of reorientating individuals in our community. So keep that in mind.
See, my concern is we have a lot of young people who are moving into the area. We are a neighborhood even though we don't have
Exactly.
neighborhoods or such.
Yes.
And my big concern is people coming from outside at a low-level job that really will not be the caliber that we really want there.
if they meet the qualifications of the law, you
That's
and
why
I,
I asked
yeah,
if you
you
did
and
the
I would be
background check.
in severe prejudice of anyone who has that right to apply and to work, I believe, and that sort of thing I frown upon. But on the other hand, I also believe that there are certain behavioral patterns and behavioral scenarios that need to be taken into consideration for the welfare of our community.
Yes,
And I strongly agree with those practices of detaching and or distancing the community from that type of
I
environment.
appreciate that.
And most especially, the most precious scenario that could possibly exist, and that is children.
Yes.
I assure you that on the other side of my scale, that doesn't cut water with me either. I hope you understand what I'm saying.
I think you touched on some also, like,
The
questions
sound.
about the sound. I'm glad you brought that
Because
up,
I'm
because
being
I was
recorded.
going to myself, I inadvertently overlooked it during my presentation. That was obviously a huge concern when we were proposing the machines being
Yes.
outside in the back. We did have an actual acoustic study done even under that scenario, and we did show, and it's irrelevant now, but I just want you to understand that we did address that, where this board that we presented to the planning board actually identified the decibel levels that where the equipment was going to be located, from the closest neighbor to the farm, et cetera. That was a concern, and that's why Mike committed to redesign the project to put it inside.
I'm very pleased to hear.
And I think one of the comments that I thought was kind of telling was from the operators of the daycare. They said that when Malibu was in there, they had to go in like to ask to, have a door fixed or whatever. She said you couldn't even hear somebody 3 feet away talking to them. It was so loud inside the building. Once they went into their own space, they couldn't hear anything. This process inside the building will not be to that level of decibels inside the building, nor outside. So we did enclose the entire project. In addition to that, this building structurally is like a fortress. The walls are precast concrete panels. You couldn't get any more dense of a construction type than what is there now. And obviously, we would do that under that, you saw that section of the building, the addition, and the foundations would all be structurally separated. With the best way to isolate sound is to structurally separate it with isolation materials and things like that. They do that in a lot of equipment rooms in office buildings and things like that. But from the outside, you probably won't even notice what's going on inside there. You will drive by it here.
There's nothing outside again?
No, you know what, on that note, I gotta tell you
Nothing.
something. To everybody that's here, actually. The strange encounter that we've made or had here with the community thus far, I owe you a debt of gratitude, because Agramac, I've been seriously working on that for like a long time. And it became apparent to me that I wasn't going anywhere with this approval process because the big thing was outside, and I don't want it outside either. That's the whole idea here, and I'm trying to tell everybody, it's like, I agree, I think you guys are right, I don't want it outside. So you're kind of saying or disagreeing with that prompted me or put me in a situation where I had to finish the stupid plan, which I've been like changing this and changing that and not actually filing the patent until, like I said, it became apparent to me that we gotta move everything inside, so let me get on with this. So now we've got the patent on it and we're moving it inside. We're going to develop it because we want it as safe as you want it. I think that's a point that I need to make. We don't want anything that you don't want, because I'm trying to say, we want it as environmentally friendly as possible. We want it as aesthetically pleasing as possible, because we're in your house. We're in your community. I've made this clear and very transparent throughout this process, which began July 12, 2012, believe it or not, when I first came to the property. We want this to be a star-studded, 5-star, whatever, Platinum Plus project because of the significance that it has, not just on Avon, but the possibility exists that it has a true significance on the world. And that is vital to the project, to the community, to making jobs, to making things safe, and to keeping everything in its proper perspective. We hope that we conveyed this to you today and throughout our entire process of developing the project. She's got her hand up.
Yes, go right ahead.
So I just want to confirm, there's going to be no dust debris outside, nothing's going to be blowing into our neighborhood outside from the crushing or anything, and you're also only using natural products, you're not recycling old concrete and that sort of stuff?
Natural material will include concretes, but the concretes will be certified by the transfer stations as being clean material. And clean materials, by the way, means that they know where this stuff is coming from. Unless there's some kind of clandestine scenario, which is total thievery, okay? Transfer stations, the legitimate transfer stations in New York State know where this material is coming from. They can't take it otherwise. And the companies that run these transfer stations, like Metallico or Casella or Waste Management, they are truly premier professional organizations that are billions of dollars in operation. And they're not going to, I would dare to say, and I hope I'm not wrong, I would dare to say that they're not going to jeopardize their positions and their situations by taking in material that they know is contaminated and looking the other way. That stuff, I don't know, I hope it only happens in the movies.
Joe, you want to address the hopper too? So it's going to be dumped into a
Right,
water or something?
right, it's immediately dumped into a
bath.
A bath,
Yeah.
that's a term Mike used earlier. So any project that involves dust in construction or road is always watered down to control the dust.
And the original process that crushes it, by the way, remember this, the original process that crushes this material at the transfer station is using a misting system that begins the cleaning process, which reduces the residual fines, sand, dust, whatever, by 60% before it even gets to us. And it goes into a water bath immediately at that point. So we're reducing through the process from the beginning process, we're reducing the percentage of materials that could be released.
Yes, sir.
Richard.
Yes, sir. I'm somewhat aware of what's going on. I don't claim to know everything, so that's why I'm inquiring. Forgive me if I sound suspicious, and, you know, if you guys can prove that I'm wrong, hey, I apologize. But from what I have heard, and I'm not saying this is gospel, I'm just saying what I've heard, one of the things that concerns me, especially as my property borders that where you want to put into business, it's my understanding that we had industrial property here at the west end of town, which in my book, you know, if it's available out there, putting everything there would absolve all the problems, all the concerns that everybody have. You'd still be able to run your business, and I'm not against this business at all. I'm very much for business, bringing jobs in the community and so on and so forth. But I'm just kind of wondering why the push is so hard to put it up there. That's one of the things. The other thing is my concern about the traffic, you know, trucks coming in and out, because that is very congested there, especially, you know, like a rush hour, so on and so forth. And I'm hearing too many probablys and possiblies and maybes. Is there any concrete in what you say that you're gonna sign your names to? Because if you're not gonna sign your names to it, that raises concerns for me.
Sign your names to what?
The traffic, so the two questions are.
No, not just the traffic,
The
everything.
Okay. Two questions. One, why this location? And two, the traffic, and we'll get into the everything, but the traffic that you raised, some context relative to,
Well, and the answer to the first question is there were multiple locations. We unfortunately started spending money developing this location because it became, or it appeared to be a location that we would be getting a good approval for, okay, a fast approval, quick approval, because there was a pre-existing industrial scenario there. And because the location is such that it gives us east-west access north-south access to the main routes of